All right, I see that question as a parallel to the last question, and that is, to what extent does Bush follow his advice? Remember, Dick Cheney said Reagan taught us deficits don't matter. And as long as we keep the percentage of the deficit at a certain level to the gross domestic product, we'll be okay. And I think that what you had in the Bush administration was each time ideology, until the bailout, conflicted with what was going on, ideology won. It won initially in the national security realm, and it didn't win on the Farm Bill, it didn't win on the Medicare bill. It certainly won with respect to presidential powers, which we're going to discuss later. And I think that Bush was not an economist. You know, he invented the term fuzzy math. And I think his math was fuzzy. And I think he always justified the increased deficit as necessary to fight against terrorism, and now necessary because of the economic meltdown. That's really my answer, except I've got to end with a story, because you began with a story. I have two stories here. One, when John Kennedy was interviewed at the end of the first 100 days, a reporter asked him, "What surprised you the most?" And Kennedy said, without any length of time waiting and saying, I'll have to think about that. Kennedy said that things were as bad as I said they were during the campaign. After the Obama election, a reporter asked Obama, he said, when you started running in 2006, the economy wasn't this bad. We hadn't lost as many people in Iraq. Things hadn't been so bad. Now you're president-elect, and things are really bad. Do you really want it? And he said, well, I'll have to think that over. We have time for maybe one last question. Yes, sir.
Can you speak to the great dichotomy between how many times they've been wrong on numerous issues, and perhaps even outside of the law, and their unbelievable push to expand presidential powers?
I think that's a question that we're going to debate later on in this program. So, every administration makes mistakes, and every administration does things that some people like and other people don't like. I think this administration has become very unpopular, and I think the comments that have been made prior to the questions tonight, this morning, suggest that this is not a pro-Bush crowd sitting here at the moment. I don't know why, but I just have that feeling at the moment. But it does seem to me, and one of the things that I think you're going to see changed, there are two things you're going to see changed in the Obama administration. One, there's going to be much less of the exertion of executive power and the exercise of significant executive orders that we saw in the first term and maybe even the second term of the Bush presidency. Cooperation and consultation with Congress rather than circumventing the Congress is certainly going to be the initial mode of the Obama administration, and you're going to criticize him because things are slow and he's made compromises and the policy change is not as great as perhaps it should have been. So I think that's one thing that's going to change, and I think he's going to be a much more a president who's going to do a few things different. He and his people will consult more. Two, he's going to use the bully pulpit much more effectively because he sees power in rhetoric. And number three, that list of what, 3 to 10 million websites is now being maintained by a 503c group, which will use that to activate support for the initiatives of the Obama administration. He's you know, he's got a great organization there, and he's going to be alerting his people and building support up. He's also talked about transparency. And transparency is great in a democracy, but sometimes you don't look so good when things, and I think he'll begin with much more transparency than he's going to end. So maybe I should end on that note. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Stephen Wayne from Georgetown, for very enlightening and perceptive, and I must say your dry wit that came through as well in this great early morning session. So that woke us up. We're going to reconvene at 9:30 for our first panel on the Bush administration policies. I look forward to seeing you back here at 9:30. Thank you.